Hey guys, welcome. I've been streaming a lot these couple days. By a lot, this is third day in a row? I think third day in a row. I did Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, today's Sunday. Yeah, today's Sunday. So yeah, this is the third day in a row. So I thought I'd change things up today. Like if you've been following my streams the last couple days, I've been working on commissions, and I should still be working on those commissions. I mean, I was working on commissions earlier today. But as far as streams go, I think I'm going to take a little break from doing commissions. Although, for those of you guys who've been watching, let's see. So, I started inking this one yesterday. I finished inking it. So here's all the line art. I still need to put in colors, but, you know, one thing at a time. And then you guys have been kind of following my beach elf. Alright, yeah, so I was doing the beach elf. I finished that one this morning. So that's this piece here. So I finished this one. I still have to send it off, but, you know, it's done. So again, I've been doing a lot of inking, a lot of coloring. So I want to change things up today for today's stream and focus on the screen tones for my comic. And that's what we're going to work on here. This is the latest issue, so you guys get a little sneak peek. This is Shadows of Oblivion number 4. And yeah, all I plan to do today for at least a couple hours is just put in the grays, put in the gray tones. So if you guys don't know anything about screen tones, I'll kind of be explaining it a little bit as I go. But you know, if this is a completely foreign concept to you, you know, feel free to ask questions and stuff. I'll happily answer them for you. I'm not like a super seasoned vet when it comes to screen tones. I know what I'm doing, but I've seen some pros that use like traditional screen tones. And like they're able to do some incredible things with just with the traditional screen tones, and I'm not quite there yet, but I can still make my art look pretty good with the screens. So I guess that's a good place to start talking wise. Like if you guys have no idea what I'm talking about when I say screen tone, old comics and manga. Let me go over here to where I have some screens. They to save. Hey, Gothic Lolita Angel, how are you? So for old comics, if you needed to have a gray tone, they could only print in literally black and white. Well, they couldn't even print in white. Things were either black, ink, or nothing. So to get grays, they create what's called screen tone, or sometimes they're called zipatones. And they're just these dot patterns or line patterns that are very close together. So when you zoom out, and when it's printed at actual size, it looks like a shade of gray. But those had to be manually put in. There were these dot patterns printed on these like acetone, like transparent sheets, and you would have to place them down onto your drawing, literally with an X-Acto knife, cut out the shape that you wanted, kind of burnish it down, and then if you wanted to go even further, you would like take a knife and kind of scrape away at the dot pattern to get like different types of textures and gradients and stuff like that. So thankfully we don't have to go through that process anymore, or you still kind of got to go through that process. much like it's just a little bit easier because you don't have to cut with an X-Acto knife anymore. So, but you do kind of have to still. All right, so I'll show you here. So imagine if I was doing this traditionally, my lasso tool here would be like the X-Acto knife. I'm going to cut out where I want the screen to be. Switch this over here. And then go over here. What do you guys think? Do you guys like having the big preview here, or would you prefer if you saw more of the drawing? Move this over just for now, just so I can. Now the advantage here with using digital screen tones is I can, adjust. So if this was real life, imagine this dot pattern here is like a literal piece of paper, right? It's not really paper, it's like vellum, acetone kind of thing. And I would place it over it, and I would have cut it out and place it. Now the cool thing about doing this digitally is I can adjust the gradient. Like when you do it traditionally, once you put it down, it's there. I mean, you can scrape it back up, but like you can't adjust the gradient on the fly. Digitally, you can. For backgrounds, I kind of like to use, instead of a dot pattern, I kind of like a line pattern. Oops. And then if I do forget, for instance, I forgot a little section here, I can reselect that section that I forgot. And as long as I'm still on this screen tone layer, I can just fill it in. So that's looking pretty good. So I'm not going to like walk through every single step this whole stream, but I figured this might be new to a lot of you guys. So I figure I'll just kind of walk through the beginning parts here. Oh, I'm silly. So even with the advantage of doing this digitally, there's still a little bit of a tediousness to this, where you have to kind of, you know, lasso every section. That's going to be a certain thing. Now I have a strong light source coming from the left here, so I'm going to do another gradient. Got to cut out gear. That's all right. That's the other advantage to this. We can always take things back. We're not stuck with anything. Good. Switch it to line again. No gear here. So how's everyone's weekend been? You guys been following my stream. My weekend has been full of sitting by myself and drawing, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Trying to stream more, so I figured now, you know, since I didn't really have a whole lot to do this weekend, and I'm just going to be drawing anyway, I might as well be streaming that drawing. Doing good, Gothic Lolita Angel, that's good. But sometimes when I'm really zoomed in like this, I might have trouble knowing what the tone looks like, so it's really important that I kind of zoom out and just see how things look. And I think that looks pretty good. Munching on popcorn and watching my stream. I didn't know my streams were popcorn worthy. See, again, it's a really good thing that doing screen tones digitally gives me a flexibility to fix things, because I forgot to take out delasso that area. I forgot to delasso this area. Now, in real life, if I was doing this in screen tones, I could always cut these pieces out again, so I wouldn't be necessarily stuck with them. But just having that flexibility is really, really nice. Oh yeah. Well, good. I'm glad it's popcorn worthy. All right. So let's see. We're gonna switch over to. Let's forget which one I use for scraping. So scraping screen tones is basically when you kind of go back into a screen tone. And it gets its name from, in real life, you get like a knife and you scrape away at your screen tones. Something like that. But I'm not looking for that I mean, I do want to do that, but specifically, this background screen tone I think is looking really good. But I want to help bring some more texture into it. So I want to bring in some highlights into this brick. So the way I'm going to do this is I just click where I want the starting point to be, hold shift, and drag where I want this line to be, and when I click again, it's going to draw a line. Now, I was a little off there. I needed to make sure I line up. There we go, that's much better. So what holding shift does is kind of forces you to draw a straight line with whatever brush that you're using. So when I zoom out, you see how it looks like there's a little bit of a highlight in the brick now? So it doesn't have to be anything like drastic, but just a little bit goes a long way. Hopefully you guys can notice that subtlety here. So it's kind of funny now that I've got this background in. I like how that looks a lot. I think I want to make. I want to include the door into this. I don't think I want to make the the door a different screen tone. I think I'm gonna use the same screen tone here. Looks like a few more of you guys have joined us. Welcome, everyone. If you haven't noticed yet, obviously I'm working on comics. If you guys have any questions about what I'm doing, just ask. Oh, we got a new follower. Cruel Queen, welcome. Oh man, now we only have 90 HP left. Whoever follows next is going to knock out the boss and become the new boss. Or if you've already followed, Powowink. Powowink? I think I'm saying your name wrong, but yep, we're working on Shadows number 4 here. Well, where did I learn how to do screen tone techniques? I taught myself. I guess a combination of teaching myself, because you'll see me use a couple techniques in the near future in this stream. That's not what like traditional manga artists do. I kind of do my own thing when it comes to a certain couple techniques you'll see, but then that's the other thing that I do is I look at what like manga does. Oh, it's Matt. Oh, I guess I should have known. Powwow Inc. Oh, I should have figured that out. But get back to your so I look at a lot of manga, kind of see how they do things. A great resource, cause looking at manga itself, you can see the screen tones, but if they use really tiny screen tones, it might be too small to really notice subtleties that they use. So this doesn't work across the board. But there's a lot of manga on, like, say, like Comixology that will let you really like zoom in on the on the pages, and if it allows you to zoom in far enough, you can actually see how they use screen tones in different ways. I also look at a lot of older comics too that use screen tones, like comics from the 50s and 60s. But those are harder to come by. Reprints aren't as readily available as comic manga is, or manga comics, whatever. And so you don't really have as many resources in the old comics department, but all of them work. All right. So since I did have the door in the same screen tone, I'm going to put this window frame in the same screen tone. I'm not sure. I think this window shine back here is for how dark the screen tone is. I think the shine itself is too bright. So I'm gonna put, oops. I don't want anything too dark, but I'm just gonna put a basic dot screen tone in here. Yeah, that'll work. Alright, so before I move to the gear and the stairs here, this is one of the techniques that I was talking about. Traditional screen tones, everything is a screen tone. You know, every shade, the idea is everything is either black. It can only either be printed in black. So there's no gray, there's no white. It's either printing in black or it's not printing at all. And that's why we have these different screen tones. And then there's different ways to layer the screen tones so that you can get different effects, different gradients, all that stuff. But you know, this isn't the 1950s anymore. Printing processes are better than they used to be. So whenever I do kind of want to do some extra values, I guess you can say, what I do is I create a new layer here, bring it down to maybe 30%, and then I just kind of drawn where I want like a shade to be. Like I use the screen tone as the initial value, and then I use just a shade of gray to indicate like more specific shadows. Now you could, you know, ideally never use screen tones. You could just do everything in values of just solid gray. The reason I use screen tones is it gives the art a nice grittiness that works really well with the comic story I'm trying to tell. Shadows of Oblivion is kind of a gritty story, so to have the grittiness of the screen tones and the inks help with that. So that's why I do that. Alright, that's a good start. Let's see. Let's do here. So I have to remind myself what tones I use for gear here. So going back to panel 1 here. So we use the 5% on her shirt, 30% on her skin, use for her hair. $60 for her hair. All right. Oh, what do I do for pants? 50. So what's everyone been up to this weekend? Anyone been doing anything fun? Go anywhere fun? Oh man, you're gonna start Final Fantasy X? Ooh, that's a good one. Work, yeah. Ooh, work indeed. But at least there is work to be had, right? As much as I love drawing, it's still my job. So I think everyone, I say everyone, a lot of people think, oh, you get to draw all day. Well, that's lucky, and in some ways, yes, I am very lucky in that respect. But at the same time, it's still a job. So it comes with its own issues. The problem is when you're adding screen tones to small figures, the dots kind of overpower the details in the drawing. So sometimes I either have to pick the tiniest dots, or just make it a flat gray. Which I think I'm going to do with her hair here. Oops. But I want to thank all of you guys for hanging out with me this Sunday. And all weekend. Am I still doing Derek? Technically, yes. I'd like to say that book is on hiatus right now. I've been doing some redesigns of the characters. And Seth has been writing a new story. We're going to take a different approach with the book. Instead of doing just single issues, like how we started the series, and instead of doing, and like how I do Shadows, doing like single issues and then collecting it. What we want to do is just switch to a straight up graphic novel model. and just have each release be a story arc unto itself, and just have different volumes of different story arcs. So Seth is writing that, and then I'm going to find. Then I'm gonna have to find room in my schedule to actually draw it. But truth be told, it's working with a writer. It's so much easier to get the work done because I have someone else to bounce the ideas off of. I don't have to come up with every idea myself. I still have to, do the work of drawing it, but it's not wholly me like Shadows of Oblivion. I have to come up with literally everything, which has its advantages. Oops. But despite its advantages, it slows down the process having to do everything. That is not outside the realm of possibility. A crossover with Cerberus and Dalrak are not ruled out. Definitely not going to be the first story arc. We've already talked about what the next story arc is going to be. And no Cerberus to appear in that one. But I am not going to rule it out in a future one. Only since, yeah, it's Seth has mentioned because my con banner is like 6 years old at this point. I need to get a new banner for conventions. So Seth has been saying he wants to get 2 banners, one for him and one for me, and one has Dalrak and one has Cerberus on it. But when we have a table together and we put the banners together, it looks like Cerberus and Dalrak are like crossing swords, like fighting each other. And I think that is a brilliant idea. I've just not had the time to work on it. One problem with dealing with screen tones is how will this look when I reduce it? Because right now I'm working at 11 by 17, like a regular comic book board size. So sometimes putting in screen tones and then shrinking it, you get like this weird moire pattern. And I don't know if that's going to happen here. I might have to do a test print once I'm done with this page and see how it looks. Because when I say moire pattern, I don't know if it's showing up on the stream. But it's kind of like a weird, like almost like cross rose flowery pattern on the screen. It might just depend on the resolution you guys are looking at. But anyway, so that's always a concern of mine when I'm doing screen tones. You got to make sure that I'm not going to undermine the whole point. Ah, yes. Issue 4. You're gonna see, as you can see, we see gear, and whenever we see gear, War Angel can't be too far behind. In fact, I haven't drawn it yet, but War Angel appears on the page after this one. So I still have to draw it. But next page, we'll see her. This looks so weird when you zoom way in. This is looking pretty good. And really the issue, you're saying time has been the issue, and time's only kind of the issue. Time's the issue in the same way that oh, hey! Thanks for the donation there. Thank you so much for that donation, Matt. Not only did that knock out the stream boss, but now you are the stream boss. So the way the stream boss works, if you're not sure, because this might be the first time you've come to one of my streams, with at least the one with the stream boss in it. So yeah, so basically whenever anyone follows or subscribes, donates bits, or donates in general, does damage to the boss. And then if you knock out the boss, you become the boss. But since you're the boss, if you start getting your HP low, and you want to heal so you stay the boss for longer, following, donating bits, will heal you. So, so if you come back to a future stream, you see your HP's low, doing a donation will heal you up. And if anyone watching wants to knock Matt out of the boss position, all you got to do is, again, donate, follow, subscribe, any of that stuff. Yes, all your base. This stream belongs to you for now. And probably most of you guys watching, you guys know about, you know, subscribing at different tiers and getting emotes. But what you guys might not know are what the emotes actually are for this channel. So, first tier emotes, you get the Shadows of Oblivion wolf that you can use, and then if you're at second tier, you can use death. And I haven't created a third tier one yet because I've not yet had any third tier subscriptions. So you guys will notice I'm, instead of using a second tone to put in the shadows here, I'm just using a gray tone. Or, I say gray tone. Just a gray, a flat gray to put in the shadows. Another screen tone would just be too much. It'd be, really hurt your eyes to look at. I'm sorry I missed your message there, Kinnear. I'll be here. So whenever you come back in, say hello. Thanks for stopping by. So I know most people, just generally speaking, for colored comics, does anyone in the chat prefer black and white? Whether it's like indie American comics or manga, Japanese manga. I'm always curious what people's preferences are. You know what? You bring up an excellent point there, Matt. A really good comic will use black and white or color because it's not what people want to see or what it's a more popular art style, but because it helps the story best. And you're absolutely right. A lot of comics need to be in color or else they're not going to be able to tell the story properly. Some it doesn't matter, it could be black and white or color, and some need to be in black and white. Yeah, I think I would agree with you. I think Saga needs to be in color. That partly because Fiona Staples' artwork is just so fantastic. The line art is so strong that if you left it without color, it could stand up on its own, but the mood wouldn't be portrayed the right way. I don't know if that made any sense. Like, she's so good at drawing like facial expressions and action and but what the colors do is bring out the mood. It kind of colors. Haha, it literally colors like how you see her drawings. Like some of her drawings, if you if it was colored all in all reds, it would feel different than if it was colored all in blues. I don't know if that makes any sense. Okay. This is looking good. We do have another question for the chat. Oh, wait, hold on. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like the colors is what make give you the context for the mood of the drawings. Although to be 100% fair, it is kind of a chicken or egg kind of thing. Fiona Staples is drawing her art knowing that it's going to be colored. So she makes, she makes choices in her line art knowing that there's going to be a colorist to do certain things. If she knew that it was not going to be colored, she might make slightly different choices with her line work. It'd probably still be amazing, but definitely would be different. So I am curious for you guys in the chat. If you're watching me, I'm assuming most of you guys like comics and read comics, manga, all that stuff. So have you guys been seeing like a lot of Webtoons ads? Like I've been getting a ton lately. Like in my Instagram feed, in my on Twitch before a lot of streams start, I get a Webtoons ad. On YouTube, I've been getting a lot of Webtoons ads, and I'm curious if it's just because I spend a lot of time on Webtoons, or if they're just doing kind of like a widespread, kind of like an ad campaign, trying to get a lot of people reading their comics. Because it would make sense if they're doing the targeting ads. Like, I'm on Webtoons, so they want to advertise certain Webtoons comics to me. That makes sense. But I'm not sure if it's targeted towards users or trying to get new readers to come to the website. So I'm kind of wondering if you guys have been getting Webtoons ads as well. This looks pretty good. Yeah, I'm curious what it would look like too. What would be awesome. I don't know if you know about or have seen at conventions the, what do they call them? The artist editions, like where they basically just take scans of original artwork and just make a big book of them. I'd love to see an artist edition of Saga. Keep getting coffee ads and food ads. I don't even get coffee ads, and I drink a ton of coffee. You guys haven't gotten any Webtoons, so it must be just because I've spent a lot of time on Webtoons. The reason I'm asking is because I've been saying for years, one of the reasons why the comics industry as a whole, it doesn't do as well as like TV and movies is because they don't advertise. Like you'll see ads in comics for other comics, but like you'll never see or rarely see like a TV ad for a comic book, or the way you'll see like a TV ad for a movie. And I think the reason why not as many people read comics, I mean, and don't get me wrong, a lot of people read comics, but not as many people that watch TV. And I think that's because they're just not advertised. People don't know that it's out there. And don't get me wrong, everyone knows that comics exist, but no one knows, unless you're an avid comic reader, you don't know what comics are out there. So if you're someone that's just kind of like I like the idea of reading comics, but I don't know where to start. I don't know where to get comics. I just don't know anything about that. You're just kind of a real casual interest in comics. You're not gonna, start reading them. But if you were like, I kind of have an interest in comics, and then you see a TV ad saying, new Batman story, get it at your local Walmart or comic book shop, or read it online, here's the website. I bet you more people would start reading comics. You can always say the excuse that, oh, people don't read that much, but that's not true. In fact, people read more now than they've ever have. So there's no reason why comics can't be one of those things. It's a little too dark. Exactly. You're exactly right, Sideways. You advertise, and people will know that it's a thing. I know that sounds like a no duh statement, but like somehow comics got into I guess a world where like you only know about comics if you know about comics. You got to go to the comic shop and then learn how to learn about the comics culture. But why? But why though? Why do you have to do that? Like, I don't have to learn about. We'll use Sideways as an example. You don't have to learn about G.I. Joe culture to know where a G.I. Joe toy is or what G.I. Joe toys there are. When a new book comes out, the author does a huge book tour. You see the author of these books on every late night show, every talk show. They're everywhere. When a new comic comes out, you don't see, Matt Fraction going to every night show pitching his new book or talking about his new book. That just doesn't happen. That's my lecture on comics, I guess. And again, it's not like they don't do any advertising. I've been seeing webtoon ads. And I've been seeing some DC ads. Not a ton, but I've been seeing, the new White Knight comic by Sean Gordon Murphy. I've been seeing some ads online for that, like on Instagram and stuff. Yeah, I know, right? Missing out on so much. But and it's not even so much missing out, although that is a sad thing. Whoops. It's people complain. Oh, well, I keep saying people in general. I see online, I see complaints of like, oh, the comic industry is in trouble and sales are down because of X, Y, and Z. But the reason sales are down is because they don't spend a ton of time to advertise like other media is. And it's like, we're gonna do nothing and then be surprised that nothing happened. I don't know if I fully agree with that, Matt, because people read all the time. Like, book sales are going up. But comic sales are going down, so like there's obviously a disconnect there. And it might be... Obviously I don't know for an absolute fact, but I get the impression of, like, when the new Avengers movie comes out, right? Avenger comic sales don't go up. And I'm sure there's a lot of reasons for that, but one of them is because when people go to the comic shop and say, hey, I love that new Avengers movie, let me get an Avengers comic. The Avengers comic has nothing to do with the movie. If you love this movie and you go to a comic shop expecting comics to look like what you just watched, what you just loved, and instead you see characters you've never seen before, you don't know anything about, the heroes you do know don't look the same, and they're acting different, and it's a story that you're not familiar with, you're not going to want to keep on reading that book. So I think it's not that people don't want to read the comics, they just won't watch the movies. I think it's when they watch the movies, they're introduced to the characters, and they want to read more about these characters that they fell in love with, and then they pick up the books and it's nothing like that. They don't continue. Although I will agree, if there's a bad movie, people are going to have that bad impression and not be interested in the comics, like the X-Men. You get some bad X-Men comics, bad X-Men movies, people are going to be like, oh, the X-Men stink, I don't want to go read the comics. Yeah, well, that's the thing though, like, the movies are made by the same people that make the comics, or the same company that owns the comics. So the fact that there's a disconnect is their fault. They make a movie, and then they don't then say, hey, we made this movie, make some comics that tie into it. Now, of course, there are a lot of comics out there that are like the prequel to a certain movie, and that's fine. But, you know, we'll use Star Wars as an example. When Star Wars comes out, there's always the Star Wars novelization. It's basically the book of the movie. It's the exact same plot, same characters. There might be some small differences, but by and large, it's the same story. Just the novel version of it. But where's that in the comics? Where's the comic version of Endgame? Like, it doesn't exist. There might be a comic that's like after Endgame or the countdown to Endgame, but there is not just a comic adaptation of the movie. And I think that's part of the thing, part of the problem. I think I'm gonna call this panel done. What do you guys think? Oops. Oops, if you can see it. Here we go. Gotta save. Oh. Yeah, you're right. You know, Infinity Gauntlet was nothing. Well, those movies were nothing like Infinity Gauntlet. Oh, good. I'm glad I made a good decision with that door. But yeah, like, so the movie wasn't a true adaptation of the comics, and I think that's fine. I think, in fact, that's ideal. If you're just, like, I don't know if you saw the Watchmen movie, they did a good job with that, but it was almost exactly the same. I was just thinking the whole time watching the movie, like, how I'd rather be watching the comic, or reading the comic, because, you know, Dave Gibbons did such an amazing job drawing it. In a lot of ways, I'd rather be reading the comic than watching a perfect an adaptation that's almost exactly like the book. So you got to change it up. So I'm totally okay with the changes they made, but then you got to bring it back around and say, okay, people are going to watch this movie and want to see these characters some more, so let's make a book adapting it. I feel like I need to put some kind of shading on the stairs, but I don't know what to do without going overboard here. Oh, you know what I want to do? I know now. Yeah, Watchmen's fine. Don't mistake me. I'm not saying that the Watchmen, neither the comic nor the movie, are bad. I'm just kind of maybe stuck up is the word. If you're not going to do something different, then why even do it at all? There we go. That looks much better. I feel like doing. I'm gonna skip a panel. We're gonna skip around a little. We're gonna do this close up of gear next. Well, the thing about Watchmen is you can tell the same story with the same purpose a different way. Let me think of a good example. I don't. Have you ever seen the anime Evangelion? Or Neon Genesis Evangelion's the full name. That anime is classic. It's changed the face of anime, especially mecha anime. Then what they did is they took that series, the 26 episode series, and turned it into well, I don't know if it's going to be 4 or 5 movies. Right now only 3 movies are out. But those 4 or 5 movies, or the movies that are out, it's going to be 4 or 5 movies. And what it is a retelling of that original 26 episode series. They're telling this same story but in a different way. So you can watch the movie, like watch the anime, the 26 episodes, then watch the movies, and they are telling almost exactly the same story, but in a different way. So you're not going to be like, why did they even bother doing this? They just remade the anime. It totally, the remake of it through the movies is, I feel, very justified. Others might disagree with me, but it's telling the story, this exact same story, a different way. And I think that's what they should have done with Watchmen, since Watchmen is much like how Evangelion changed how anime is made and how it looks and how stories are told. That's what Watchmen did for comic books. It changed how everyone looked at comics. So if you're going to now take that and make it a movie, you can keep the same story, but change it so it's not just a shot-for-shot exact thing. Don't ask me what I would do to change it, because that would take me some time to think of it. I couldn't do it on the spot here. But I'm sure it could be done. There's a lot of creative people in Hollywood. But that's my opinion. And again, just to reiterate, I'm not trying to imply that it's a bad movie. Not only do I own it on DVD or maybe Blu-ray, I can't remember. Not only do I own it, but I have like the extra edition where it has the black the pirate story intercut into the movie, just like how the original comic was made. So, you know, despite my complaints, I like it enough that I splurged on the extra edition. Yeah, that's one way to do it. Yeah, do it from Ozymandias' point of view, or maybe from the point of view of like the newsstand guys. Like have them go home and then they see things on the news or whatever. Or even, it doesn't even have to be like that. It could be even like in Evangelion. They just use different shots. Like it's and different pacing. I've not seen The Boys yet. I have Amazon Prime, so I should take the time to do that. How is it? Is it good? How about you, Sideways? Have you seen The Boys yet? Did you read the comic, The Boys? I'm curious how it compares. Oh yeah, like The Boys comes from that early 2000s era deconstruction of the superhero that was pretty popular at the time. Like, I'm not sure when The Boys were published. Let's find out. Let's see. Yeah, 2006. So yeah, that's right in that era. Yeah, right in the early 2000s, after the comic book code was abandoned, there was this huge influx of superhero deconstruction stories. And The Boys is one of them. Bandwagoner. No, it's alright. This kind of goes back to my point, like, of having the source material like having these TV shows and movies introduce people to comics that maybe they've never heard of before, even if you're a comic book fan. It's impossible to know about every comic that exists. So ideally, that's why I was curious how that stacks up. In a perfect world, you would now go to the comic shop and pick up the boys' comics, and you wouldn't want it to be exactly the same, or else you wouldn't want to read the comic because you already know what happens. But you want it to be close enough where all the characters are recognizable to you, and you get to explore this world of the characters that you like more than what you got to do in the show. And that's why actually The Walking Dead was so successful, both as a comic and as a TV show, because it was so, relatively speaking, close to each other. Like, the stories aren't the same, but they're close enough where if someone watched The Walking Dead and then they went to the comic store and picked up a Walking Dead comic, they wouldn't get the same story, but they do recognize the characters, and they'll be able to explore this world more with the characters they like. And that's one of the few comics whose sales went up when their show became popular. Most other comics their sales didn't increase when their movies became popular. But, Walking Dead did, and I think it's because of what I've been talking about. But yeah, if you like the superhero deconstruction, like Watchmen and like The Boys, you should also pick up oh crap, what was that Mark Waid comic? Irredeemable, I think. Pretty sure it was Irredeemable. Where it follows like a Superman-like character that just decides to just go evil. And again, it's a deconstruction of classic superhero tropes. Irredeemable. Okay, thank you, Sideways. What was the name of the sequel? There was a whole, like, it was Irredeemable, and it was like Irreplaceable or something like that, or Irresistible. I can't remember. Incorruptible, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Let's just keep all these the same tone. Yeah, you had the part right. You know, I love putting in screen tones. I love monochromatic comics, specifically black and white. I've noticed, I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, in a lot of indie comics coming out nowadays, mostly like graphic novel style. Wait, hold on. Actually, I don't remember. I don't think Deer and War Angel have a fight this issue. If I remember right, it's bad when I don't remember my own script. They definitely hang out a little bit this issue. I think that's about all I'm gonna say. We don't have a fight though. But as I was saying, a lot of indie comics now, I've been noticing, they'll be, because let's be honest, most people prefer colored to black and white. So if you want to make your comic manga-esque, but you need to have color to attract readers, how do you solve that problem? And I think they've solved it a few, specifically first, second comics. I find it mostly with their books, but not exclusively. Not exclusively their books. They'll make it monochromatic with one singular color. Like how I'm putting in screen tones. Instead of being black screen tones, they'll be like blue or pink or red or technically pink as well. And so it'll still attract people with their color, but you can still have a monochromatic book, and I think that is brilliant. I always love seeing indie comics do that sort of thing. Alright. I think this is looking pretty good. Let's put in some shadows. What am I reading? Okay. That's a good question. I have not been reading. No, that's not 100% true. New comics I've been reading have all been manga. My number one that I strongly recommend is hold on. Alright, sorry. I had my shadow layer on the wrong spot. It's messing things up. Anyway, okay, so Promised Neverland right now is my number one comic. I don't want to spoil anything by telling you what it's about. Oh, that's why this is going wrong. Kind of stupid. There we go. Alright. Oh, I'm an idiot. Okay, Promised Neverland. I don't want to spoil anything because the twist happens in the first issue. So I can't really tell you really what it's about without ruining anything. But I will tell you, read that first issue. For most of it, you're going to be like, what am I reading? Like, what is this? And then the twist will happen at the end. And if that twist, when that twist happens, if you think to yourself, that's dumb, don't read it anymore. Because that's the story from there on. But if you're like me, you're going to think, holy crap, that's awesome! I can't believe it! And you're going to be hooked for the rest of the story. Sideways can testify to that, the trueness of that statement. So we got him hooked on that. So that's number one. Let's see, number two, My Hero Academia has been great if you like superheroes. Speaking of superhero deconstruction, this takes deconstruction to a weird... It takes it so far around, it's almost back to where it started. Because it's not really deconstructing superheroes more than creating logistics for them. So it's about a world where superpowers are the norm. 80% of people are born with some kind of superpower. Now, not all of them are amazing. Like the mother of our protagonist, she can just make things levitate like a few inches off the ground or whatever. So it's a power, but it's not like, crazy. So in this world where everyone has superpowers, they're superheroes, but you can't just be a superhero. You have to be certified. You have to go through training. You have to go to school for it. You have to pass like government certification tests. And so it's kind of that process of our main character doing that. Now that sounds a little bit boring, but yeah, Academia is your favorite anime. Yeah, and that's exactly what I was just about to say, Sideways. You care about every character, so even though what I just described may come off as a little bit boring, like, oh, I don't want to just watch a bunch of kids go to school to be superheroes. The characters, I think, are very interesting in their motivations, and it asks the question, what does it mean to be a hero? And what makes the show so interesting to me is that all our students have a different answer to that. It means to be a hero means different things to different people, and we get to explore that in the show. And I think that's what makes it fantastic. Let's see, what else am I reading? I'm not very far in it, but I've been reading Black Torch. Also a Shonen Jump manga. I started reading JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I'm only maybe I got through the first chapter of the first story arc in that one, so I'm still pretty far in the beginning of JoJo's. And I think that's it. Everything else I've been reading have been old 90s comics. Like, I've been reading on my Comixology app, I've been reading old Uncanny X-Men that how do you say his name? Porchalo? The book that he drew for the Uncanny X-Men in the early 90s. I've been reading that. Maximum Carnage I've been reading. So now that I've rambled on, how about you? What has everyone been reading? Everyone in the chat, what have you guys been reading, comic-wise? Yeah, I'll be honest. I've fallen behind in my reading too. I'm on chapter 111 for Promised Neverland. I think I need to read 30 chapters to get caught up. Seth has been trying to get me to read The Flash for forever. I mean, I started reading The Flash when the New 52 happened, and it was great. and then I just kind of stopped reading mainstream comics, and then he's been trying to get me to get back on the Flash train for years, and I just, no, without any good reason, just haven't been doing it. See, my main problem with the mainstream comics like Marvel and DC, and even some higher tier mainstream books, like Western books, like like Image and all them, isn't that I have anything against the stories. It's just they're so expensive. Like, $4 to $5 an issue. Like, I can't afford to read as many books as I want. That's why I have to wait for like a Comixology sale where they're all like $1 or less. Or that's, honestly, that's the main reason why I read Shonen Jump manga. It's $2 a month to have unlimited access to their library. I can afford $2 a month. So if I need to read some comics, I'm going to read some Shonen Jump. I mean, and that's the other reason I read webtoons too. That's why I'm on webtoons all the time. That's free. Good comics for free. Yeah, it really is. Like, I haven't, they've been doing that service for about 8-9 months now. So I haven't looked into any of their numbers to see how they're doing. Shonen Jump, that is. But I find it hard to believe that Shonen Jump is in, turning you on to the app? Yeah, of course, man. I am always in favor of, if I can get people to read comics affordably, that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, I mean, Shonen Jump's model is super impressive to me. Not only is it the fact that you can read their entire, well, I shouldn't say entire library, almost their entire library for $2 a month. Um, and I fully am aware I sound like I'm some kind of sponsored thing. I'm not. I just really like it. But they give you like all their other comics, like the latest issues are free. I think for 2 to 3 weeks, like those issues are available to read for free. So you don't even, if you get caught up on your favorite series, let's say I decide I want to read all of One Piece. Once I read all of One Piece, get caught up to One Piece, if I wanted to, I could just cancel my subscription, and then every new chapter that comes out is free anyway, so I can still stay caught up on One Piece and not have to spend any money. Frankly, I'm not 100% sure how they continue to make money off of that, but I mean, it's Shonen Jump. I doubt they would have changed their model to make less money. Gotta put some shadows in on Richie here. Do you think Japan promotes manga more than the West? Does the comics interest you? Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The thing about the Japanese comics industry is that it is national pride to them. Like anime and manga, they see as a national art form. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not like it's not like every single person in Japan loves comics and reads comics. It's something literally everyone does. But where I forget the last statistic I looked at. I think, if I'm not misremembering, like I think somewhere between like 15 to 20% of Americans read comics, where in Japan it's like 50 or 60% of the Japanese population read comics. Again, I could have those numbers slightly off. I'm trying to remember something I read like years ago. And again, I did read it years ago, so those numbers might have changed since then. But about 3 times as the Japanese read comics than Americans do. And it's not stigmatized, it's just the way no one would like look at you weird for watching Game of Thrones. No one looks at you weird for reading a comic in Japan. And not only that, but everything has mascots, so everything has like an anime mascot. Their culture just really likes comics. Generally, like in a broad general statement. And it's because of that is why they have so many comics. Like if you go into a manga store, like it is just think of like Books A Million, but all the books are manga. Like that's what manga places look like in Japan. It really is really part of their culture. And again, just like anything in the world, not everyone likes it. Like, Game of Thrones. I'll keep using that example. Game of Thrones is huge in America. Most people watch Game of Thrones, but not everyone does. A lot of people think it's some people think it's stupid or childish or just generally dumb. But most people like Game of Thrones, or at least they did until the last season. And that's the same way manga is. Some people think manga is silly and dumb and kind of childish, but most people like it. Now, things are obviously changing with digital age, but it used to be, because like Shonen Jump used to be a magazine, and nowadays, now it's only digital, only through the Shonen Jump app. But and I think some manga still publishes this way, but it used to be, you would just go to any store, you'd just see like a giant volume of like, of manga, Shonen Jump or whatever, and you'd buy it for like a couple bucks, and then you'd read all the stories in it, and then you'd throw it away. It was all disposable. It was cheap and disposable, and I think that's one of the reasons why it did so well. It was easy to access. You can go to any shop, and when I say shop, I mean like convenience store, any place, and you'll just see stacks of manga, and you'll just pick up something off the shelf, pay just a few bucks for it, and then when you're done reading it, you'll get rid of it. Now, your favorite manga, you would buy the collected volumes of it, and you'll keep those, but like the big volumes of like Shonen Jump, those you want to keep. All right. What do you guys think so far? Is this looking all right? Is it looking like a good page? Got 2 more panels to do. Wow, I've been doing this for 2 hours? Wow, didn't feel like 2 hours. Does it feel like 2 hours to you guys? Have I been talking too much? I think this is the most I've ever talked on a stream. I love the angle of the first panel. I tell you, man, I had so much trouble with that panel. I think I redrew it like 4 or 5 times, and then I even got like a 3D model. I was having trouble with it so much that I created a 3D model, put it in that pose, and tried to get the right angle, and even that didn't help. Mostly because of the field of view for the 3D model I was using. So like her shoulder was like covering up her cheek here, and that just wasn't working. So man, I had to fudge a lot of stuff to get this to work, but I think I did finally get it to work. Alright, let's do the lieutenant down here. I forget what tones I used for him. Good. I'm glad it at least looks good. I always second guess myself. Let's see, 10%. %. So 10, 40. Okay, so 10, 20, 30. That's easy enough to remember. So how's everyone else doing? How's everyone hanging in there? We've been at this for a couple hours now. You guys sick of me yet? Sick of my lectures about comics? Never. At least I'm happy one of you guys are always on board. So I do want to encourage you guys, those of you watching, if you haven't already, give me a follow. If you've been enjoying this, enjoying my stupid comic book lectures. I still got to look into, we talked about yesterday, maybe doing like radio drama streams. That could be a lot of fun, specifically Superman. I'm not sure if the Superman radio show is in the public domain. That's why I gotta double check that. Although comicbooksplus.com has a lot of radio dramas, so even if Superman isn't in the public domain, I might be able to get a Blue Beetle or a Shadow radio drama. I'll have to look. So that way you don't have to listen to me ramble on. Oh, you did check out those radio links. What'd you think? Yeah, they're really entertaining, aren't they? Those Superman, like, when I first started listening to them, yeah, those commercials, you're exactly right. I was about to just say that. I have an appreciation for the commercials since they do it live on the air back then, but they're still very clearly for kids. Which isn't inherently bad, but definitely not for people like us. But yeah, I was really expecting it to be like really old timey, and a little annoying, but it's really entertaining. I like those old radio dramas. In fact, when I'm done going live, I'll probably listen to some as when I keep drawing. After probably, let's see, probably about 15 minutes, I'll probably take a break. Probably listen to some dramas as I work after. I'll see if I can download them. I think my next, I don't know, the next stream I don't appear on camera and I don't have the mic on. I'll probably just put on the drama there. Oh, sorry, man. Sorry, work interfered. Well, if it's for whatever it's worth, you can always watch the replay to catch what I had to say. Or we can circle back around. We can talk about. Right now, we're talking about the Superman radio show from the 40s. But I agree with you sideways. The Foley work is really good. I feel like it's so it's weird critiquing / praising a show that hasn't been on the air in 80 years, but I think but it's still good. It doesn't change how good it is. But yeah, we're talking manga. Let's see. What's the last thing you heard? What was the last thing we talked about before you had to go? I don't mind circling back around. Well, were you around when I was talking about the Shonen Jump app? I sounded like a sponsored advertisement. Nope. I mean, so if you get the Shonen Jump app, you can read all the latest chapters of Shonen Jump manga for free. And then if you pay $2 a month, you have access to their entire library. I shouldn't say entire library. They don't have Hunter x Hunter on there. They only recently added JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but they get most of it. Like Samurai X is on there, Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super is all on there. Let's see, Ghost in the Shell is in Shonen Jump, but Promise Neverland is on there. My Hero Academia is on there. One Piece is on there, like, and the entire runs. So in the most recent things too. So every time a new chapter comes out every week, it's there on the app, and you can just keep on keeping on reading it. So if you want to get into some manga, it's super easy. And this is the great thing too. Before you even spend a dime, if you just kind of want to test it out, just get the app. The very first 3 chapters of every manga is free, and the latest 3 chapters of every manga is free. So you can test out, just read the first 3 chapters of a bunch of manga, like try Promise Neverland, read the first 3 chapters, see if you like it. If you do, pay $2, read the rest of the series. Same thing with, like, if you want to read Dragon Ball Super. I'm told Dragon Ball Super, I haven't read it, but this Dragon Ball Super manga, I'm told, is really good. Even better than the anime. Like, I guess they go into a little more depth about stuff. So, yeah, so give it a try. If it's not you, or not for you, I should say, that's okay. Not everything is for everyone. Could I draw Chuck Norris? Hypothetically, yes, I could, but I'm not working on that today. Today we're working on comics. But welcome, the Arsenal for Life. Catholic Lolita, Angel, the opposite. More into mangas, less with comics. I have some of the old ones like Top Cow. Oh, I didn't know Top Cow did a Gatchaman series. That's awesome. See, for me, comics are the same. What was he saying? To me, comics and manga are the same thing. So I don't really put a distinction between the two. For me, why I'm reading more manga than comics is simply price. $2 a month is way more affordable for me than $5 an issue. Yeah, I use Macintosh. That's what I use here. I think most artists use Macs. Not that there's anything wrong with PCs. I think most pro artists use Macs. Oh yeah, Gothic Lolita Angel. I wasn't trying to imply that you thought there was a difference. Sorry if it came off that way. I didn't mean that. Let's see, Super Art Comics. Yeah, that's exactly it. Matt, that's the main reason why I haven't been reading any mainstream American comics or any American comics unless it's a webcomic or a webtoon. It's just too expensive. And I think that's biting the industry in the butt. They keep getting more and more expensive, and people can't afford it. I've been saying for years that Western comics need to adopt the manga model and just put all their books into one publication each week, and so people can read all their books but not have to spend a fortune on it. Let's see. You're looking to get a Mac. I'm using Clip Studio Paint. It is not free. Let's see. Oh man, anime movie about a police force that used drop pods to insert an attack. Is it more of a modern anime, or is it an older one, like from the 90s? Because I can think of a couple possibilities, but some of them are older and newer than others. So, what do you remember? What is it, like an early 2000s anime? Is it like a early 80s, 90s? No idea. Well, did the animation look kind of old and blurry, or did it look like really new and crisp in HD? At least it'll give me at least a starting point. Were there any CG elements, or was it all like 2D animated? It's new and clean. The only thing I can think of off the top of my head, because there's a lot of, with the advent of Crunchyroll, there is a lot of new anime constantly coming out. The only one I can think of that might have like drop, were there robots in it, or was it just kind of, were they all like human? The one that I'm thinking of, the top of my head, it might be Appleseed, which is like an early 2000s animated movie by the same I don't know who animated it, what studio, but the manga's by the same person who does Ghost in the Shell, and so that's the only one I can think of. Armored Cops. Oh, I'll have to do some research. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. And it was a very serious anime, right? There weren't like stupid jokes in it. Because there's a few animes that are like kind of hyper violent, but it's also kind of, the whole point of it is to I guess make fun of that, and not make fun of it, but kind of be more satirical, kind of like RoboCop. So there's like some bad, crude jokes in it. they're all police. They weren't like fighting aliens or anything like that. Yeah. You are kind of asking that. Hoping that there were some like very distinct clues in there. Like they were fighting aliens, or I don't know, there were a lot of robots, or the robots looked a specific way. But yeah, if they're just general police, I guess my last question is: was it like hyper violent? Like when someone got shot, did blood just like explode out of them like unnatural amounts of blood, or was it a normal amount of blood? Alright, that sounds like some late 90s hyper-violent anime. I'll do some research and I'll see if I can find something. Anything else distinguishing, like, I don't know, like, hair color of the protagonists? Where they, like, main characters all had blue and pink hair, or anything else I can use as a clue to look for it. Yeah, black hair, okay. I mean, that is distinct. I was hoping for something super distinct. Like rainbow-colored mohawk or something. How detailed should I do this background? Tone-wise. Oh, wow, it's almost 6 o'clock. Alright, guys. Actually, now, since I finished this panel, I think this is a good stopping point. I'm going for 2.5 hours here. I think it's a good time to stop. Yeah, what do you guys think? Does this look alright? All right, so I think I am going to call this done, or at least for today's stream done. So I want to say a big thank you uh, to everyone who came and visited, who spent some time with me, spent the last 2.5 hours with me. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate it. Uh, if you haven't yet, give me a follow. Uh, you can always subscribe. That's a little, if you want some bonus stuff. Yeah, I think we can call it. Yeah, so give me a follow. My next stream is unknown. I think at least it's going to be, at the very least, it's going to be Friday. I'm going to try to do a Tuesday stream, but I'm not going to count on it. My Tuesdays, like I said, have changed recently. And I don't think I'll be able to do a Thursday. So it's definitely going to be Friday. Friday and Saturday next week. I'm going to try to get a third one in. I'm trying to get back up to streaming 3 days a week. If you follow me on social media, if you follow me on Twitter, all that stuff, I always announce 15 minutes before. If you follow me, you get a notification. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed watching me work sideways. I appreciate it. I really do. And I appreciate all of you guys for spending your time with me. It's sitting in my studio drawing all alone can be lonely work. So it's nice to be able to talk to you guys while I work. So thank you, all of you. So yeah, do all the things so you know next time when I'm streaming, because I'd love to have you back. And let's go over here, and we have to obviously thank them. Switch over to this here. So if you like my comics, if you like watching the process of my comics, patrons get to look at my process art, look at the scripts and the sketches and all that stuff. You also get downloads and early access and all that fun stuff. So big thank you to my patrons, Angers McBeard, Anthony Osimo, Brooke Clayton, Chickadee, DevDuck01, Doug Hogan, Elizabeth, John Swell, Lawrence Winston, Lily Avonley, Matt Powell, MC McClure, Quixie Kixel, the Red Blaze, Set Tally, Shadow Macer 66, Taylor Onesti, Tony Timonen, Verizontal, and Zerial. If you want to join these guys, the link is down below. You can see the link to Patreon, or you can just go to the URL on the screen. And all right, I think that's enough shilling for now. So thank you guys, as always. Hopefully see you in a few days. And take care of yourselves, all right? All right. Bye, guys.